What's going on, YouTube? Back again for another one-shot concept where I read it. So let's see how this goes down. Today I will be reading Frost and Flames, another Naruto and RWBY crossover. This is a retelling of a story I wrote a while back called Fire and Ice. However, I changed the ship, which is now Naruto and Winter, along with a few other plot details. This is a world where Naruto was reincarnated on Remnant and was adopted into the Belladonna family, joining the White Fang to protect his sister and change the White Fang from within. However, after a particular incident, memories of his old life began to return. Before we begin, I must again thank everyone who listens to my stories. I am under no illusion that I'll ever going to make it big. I just want a place to tell my stories and get them a little more exposure. If you like this kind of storytelling, hit that like button, and if you have time, leave a comment. This is a concept, and the more I hear back from others, the more likely the story is to receive another update. And if this is your kind of content, think about subscribing to more. I got plenty more stories to tell. If you want to follow along, there will be links to fanfiction.net and archive of our own below. Let's start with what I hope is only the first part of Frost and Flames. Naruto, age 7. This was a place he never thought he would see. Cerulean eyes blinked, taking in the lush tropical beach. A small port city nestled on the coast, the jungle looming behind. All the while perched on the front of the bow, taking it all in. Whoa, so cool, a young boy with spiky locks, dressed in tattered orange clothing, stared in awe, his jaw agape as he let the salty sea breeze wash over him. He took it all in with a bright smile and infectious laughter. It didn't matter if the air caused the rash mark latched around his neck to itch and burn, a reminder of the shackles that bound him. His bushy blonde tail wagged and his sharp ears perked up, hearing the sound of people on the dock. So many people were waiting for them. This was awesome. Big guy! The young boy beamed, excited, glancing back at the towering brick of a man standing several feet behind him. A thin and gentle smile gracing his rugged features. Yes, Naruto? What is it? The powerful man chuckled, his gaze shifting and darkening at several people behind him, whispering. Naruto's long ears twitched, and he tilted his head before screwing it. Why were they so upset at what he said? That's what this man was. He was huge. Why was it a big deal? He knew who he was. He just liked calling people as he saw them. What's that place called? It looks so cool. Naruto shrugged and ignored them. It wasn't like what they said mattered. Big Guy was his hero. Took him from the ashes of that wretched place. From the silver-hooded Kukawana, a haven from all fondness. Ghira gently patted Naruto's shoulder, drawing the young boy from the darkness, trying to grasp at his heart. Home? Naruto blinked, staring in awe at the jungle city as their boat slowed, the currents of the ocean rocking the ship as it slowly came to rest at the dock. His eyes squinted as the fuzzy people from the distance on the dock became clearer. There were so many people, it was hard to distinguish anyone, but two people stood out. A woman wearing a black, white hakama, with the fuzziest cat ears he had ever seen, and a young child warily standing beside her mother. Yes, this place is our home, Ghira assured Naruto before nudging him forward. It will be okay, I promise. We are family. We will keep you safe. That is what family does. Naruto, age 10. And that is why there is still tension between humanity and faunus kind. Naruto repressed the urge to groan at his mother, who had finally finished her lecture on faunus' tumultuous history and with humanity. He truly loved his mom. However, he absolutely hated classes like this. He hated being stuck in a room for nearly an hour, having to listen to stuff he couldn't care less about. He wanted to be outside, running around, having fun. Unless there was a lesson on ninjas or something, that was something Naruto was interested in. Ninjas were awesome. He wanted to be one, able to sneak around, get away with whatever they wanted. You weren't listening, were you? Callie deadpanned and glared at Naruto. I was. Blake proudly puffed up her chest and smiled. Naruto glowered at his little sister, biting his lip and holding back from muttering show off. He loved his little sister, but she was a teacher's pet. And really damn smart. He despised learning alongside his sister. She made him look dumb most of the time by comparison. I know you were. I'm proud of you, I am. Callie gently flashed her daughter a smile before exhaling and taking a seat beside Naruto. Naruto, I want you to know, I wouldn't sit you down through all of this if I didn't think it was important to know. I know this isn't where you excel. Was your talents... Well, you might make a great huntsman one day, and that is something I want to help flourish, so we can all be proud of what you become. Naruto's lips quivered. He wanted to frown, feeling he had let his mother down. Yet at the same time, she admitted his skills lay elsewhere, and she saw that talent. It was a bit of a mixed bag. But this is our history. We are doomed to repeat our mistakes if we cannot learn from them. Doomed to repeat this spiral of violence if we cannot break it. Callie emphasized, placing a comforting hand on Naruto's. Naruto melted from his mother's touch. He wanted her warmth radiated, calming his nerves, but a persistent thought lingered in the back of his mind. A dark thought. A black memory. One seared with flames. What about them? Naruto simply asked, unable to look at his mother, and he felt her flinch, saw his sister recoil and look away. But his mother's resolve remained strong, and Callie reached over and gently embraced Naruto, knowing the mixed emotions he was experiencing. That is not easy to answer. What I can say is, we will stay vigilant and protect our own, no matter the cost. Naruto, age 12. The wind whirled around him. His feet barely touched the platforms beneath. Each step propelled him forward quicker, leaving golden embers behind him as he left everyone in his smoldering cinders. Naruto! Naruto grinned, glancing back at the annoyed merchants and guards of Kuwakuana as Naruto sprinted from roof to roof, all who were seething for the painted redesigns of their signs and public property. One might call it graffiti, while another might call it defamation of public property. Naruto called it fun. He loved pranking people in this manner, riling everyone up and causing them to erupt and create a ruckus. Release that pent-up frustration they felt within, even if it was only for a brief moment. Or bring an amused chuckle to someone who needed it. As long as it evoked some sort of response, Naruto had done his job. And this time, he had a partner in crime. Wait, big brother! Blake tried desperately to keep pace with Naruto and missed the chaos. She wasn't nearly as fast or strong as Naruto. She was far smaller than he was, and she didn't work out nearly as much as he did, preferring to keep her nose in the books. But she found the chaotic pranks Naruto played to be a riot, wanting to join in this latest adventure. Blake even painted a few of the signs. Oh, how Naruto was proud of his little sister. However, her pace was lacking. They were going to get caught at this rate. An ideal sparked within Naruto's mind, and he grinned, reaching into the pouch. Sometimes it took more than strength and speed to escape a situation. Clever use of the environment and camouflage was a critical element for survival. He learned that years ago, when his fellow fauna survived by blending in, not upsetting the status quo, escaping when they least expected it. Down! Naruto leapt behind his sister, pulling her into a small alley between the huts. What are you? Blake gasped, unsure what her brother was planning as he pressed her and himself against the wall of the hut. Before he suddenly flapped and held a tarp in front of them as the crowd rushed by without hesitation. Blake blinked, staring oddly at her brother as he laughed, dropping the tarp before looking at it to see wooden hut patterns on the other side. How did that work? You'd be surprised how many times it does, Naruto smirked, unable to contain his laughter. You didn't say this was going to be so much work. It wasn't nearly as fun as you made it out to be, Blake scowled and huffed, turning her head away, trying to avoid having Naruto see the faint smile and excitement that Blake felt. Oh? Then I'll leave you out of the next one, Naruto grinned as Blake jumped and shook her head. No, I had fun, I swear! Blake panicked before glowering at the raucous laughter that followed. A tick mark developed on her head and she began to repeatedly swing her fist, her hands bouncing off Naruto's arms as he defended himself. Stop being so mean, you jerk! Ah, okay, I'll be nicer. We can go fishing now, I promise. Naruto laughed while Blake pounded her fist against him. Her assault immediately stopped, but Blake continued to pout and huff. You better catch me a lot of fish for this. I will. Naruto's infectious laughter couldn't be contained, a devilish grin crossing his expression. Anything for you, Princess Nightshade. Blake's entire body went rigid, her ears stood straight, and her golden eyes flashed raw hatred in his direction. Naruto sprinted with all his might towards the pier, his little sister desperately chasing behind. Naruto! Naruto, age 14. Naruto knew this feeling. He had only felt this a few times in his life. Nothing good ever came of it. His heartbeat raced. No, it sprinted. He gnashed and ground his teeth to the point he felt they could chip at any moment. He felt a raw, boiling sensation bubbling within his stomach, and his eyes flickered crimson while his pupils dilated. The usual golden glow of his aura burned an intense red, wildly raging yet condensing into a shape consistent with a fox around him. This was unfiltered rage. Naruto was a hothead. He knew that. He had to learn how to curb that nature. Practice similar exercises to Ghira and learned how to harness that feeling. For their cause, he had to restrain his temper and keep calm and collected. And all that went out the window when his sister came home bruised with shallow cuts. But that wasn't the problem. He had accepted that she would come home with a little roughed up. She wanted to learn how to wield a sword. Fortunately, there weren't many on Kukoana that could effectively train her. And the one who could, Naruto had a problem with. Naruto did not like Adam or what he stood for. And somewhat, despite what had happened to him a few months ago while he worked in Atlas, he came back even more convinced in his beliefs. After losing an eye! But he couldn't set all that aside. Or he could set all that aside. Adam wanted the same thing everyone wanted. A world where humanity and Faunus coexisted. They just needed to rein in his extreme tendencies, which were only becoming more pronounced by whose guidance he was under. Again, he could live with that because he wanted his sister to be strong, to be capable of protecting herself, standing up for what she believed in. He practiced with her all the time and helped her run drills regularly, while he knew all these exercises was a mystery. No, none of this was a problem. It was the rhetoric and idealism that Blake had begun to spew that caused the cauldron to boil over. Before Callie or Ghira could say a word to stop him, Naruto had made a beeline directly towards where he knew Adam would be. He was always in her presence, Sienna Khan and her lackeys, the extremists in the White Fang attempting to radicalize their own once peaceful protest and rallies. And while he did agree with some of their idealism, deep within his heart, he knew that their path was wrong. Violence should always be the last resort in conveying any message. Adam! Naruto roared as he approached Sienna's quarters in the city, landing before her doorstep. Naruto snarled as the guardsmen flanking the entrance immediately reacted with violence, attempting to use their spears to wrangle Naruto and cause him to submit. The two were caught in the grasp of his superheated aura and pushed through the outer walls of the complex before quickly releasing them. Prolonged exposure could cause severe burns and if he focused, incinerated everything on touch. Thankfully, this act was enough to draw the residents outside the property, including his target. Adam! Naruto's aura wispily set the grass around aflame while he continued his march, his gaze laser-focused. Ignorant of the glint within Sienna's eyes as she stepped back and observed, almost as if she were amused. What is this about? I have no quarrel with you, Adam snarled, immediately snapping into a defensive stance, his hand grasping and clutching the tsuka of his shokuto, and the scabbard prepared to draw if necessary. But the snarl that twitched on his lip told a different story. Naruto knew Adam had been wanting this fight for some time, to settle their grievances against one another, to settle what was best for Blake. Speaking of Blake, Naruto, stop! His sister leaped over the fence, heavily breathing, her eyes shimmering with tears while her body trembled. Naruto ignored her, stepping towards Adam, his crimson gaze piercing into Adam's lone eye. Yes, we do, Naruto whispered. At last we agree on something, Adam snarled, but his eyes shone with a hint of anticipation. His chocoto unclasped, and wilt singed in the air. Only to be clasped in Naruto's right hand, its momentum stopped by his bare hand and the sheer intensity of the aura surrounding him. Before the blade, made of red dust, started to melt, it became so unstable that it shattered in their faces. Adam winced and stumbled as pieces of shrapnel cut into his flesh. But to his horror, Naruto was unbothered by this and had left his left fist cocked back. Bits of metal turned into flakes of dust, and they melted within the orbit of his aura. He could do nothing to stop the haymaker from making contact. A sense of relief washed over Naruto. He felt a certain satisfaction upon hearing the crack of his mask and maybe the orbital bone. A sense of release at seeing him stumble and clasping his face, blood rushing from his broken nose. And finally a sense of control as his aura flickered gold before receding within. Keep your rhetoric out of my sister's mouth, Naruto simply stated in a low, threatening tone before he turned away, his mission accomplished. Message conveyed with minimum violence. Naruto grimaced upon seeing his adoptive parents observing the scene with concern. He had hoped that reasoning would resonate with them. He didn't want to worry them any further. Naruto, age 15. He didn't want to be here, in this room, before her and her leering gaze. It was creepy. It was almost as if she was stalking him. Naruto couldn't stand this transition. He was a proud member of the White Fang. He had been since childhood. He stood with his adoptive family and their ideals. Violence was only meant to be used as a last resort, or to break a bowl and keep him away from his sister. But this had been coming for quite some time. His parents were stepping away from full command of the White Fang, unable to steer their organization in a different direction from the one the extremists were taking it, unable to handle the workload of putting out the fires Sienna and her lackeys caused, and keep peaceful negotiations with many of their supporters. And was Blake coming home every day spewing the rhetoric Adam was teaching her? Naruto knew what he had to do. There wasn't a stop to this, so the best he could do was stay in the organization and help her from the inside. Ma, can we hurry this up? You know what I offer to the White Fang, Naruto grumbled, uncomfortably, sitting before Sienna, being lapped up by her gaze. Devoured by her. Oh, I am more than aware of what you can bring, Sienna suggestively teased Naruto, her eyes twinkling in amusement at his cowering. However, with a sigh, she brought forth a stern expression. My question is simple. Are you willing to do what is necessary for the White Fang to succeed? That's what I've been doing this entire time, Naruto glowered, meeting her gaze unflinchingly. Good. I have a special assignment for you. Then, Solidus Branch Leader Uzumaki. Sienna only smiled, Naruto's gaze narrowing at the title she had just bestowed upon him. What game was she playing at giving him such a promotion at his age? Solitus is a volatile yet most profitable region, one in which we struggle to maintain a foothold due to various factors. The Atlas military, the SDC, the Silver Bullet Brotherhood. Sienna purposely let the last fact slip and paused, gauging Naruto's reaction. And she smiled upon the crimson burning within his eyes. Oh, yes, their headquarters are there. It's their stronghold, you can say, Sienna led Naruto on, her eyes gleaming with expectation. Solitus is our front line against them. and we need you to finish the fight. The imagery was so striking, despite the coats of grays, blacks, and whites he saw the world in. A river disrupted a waterfall guarded by two statues, leveled. A valley almost entirely flattened to a dusty bowl. This place felt so familiar, and before him stood a young man approximately his age, barely able to keep a single crimson eye open on his bruised and bloodied face, his hollowed gaze piercing into his. Naruto! He could hardly lift himself out of the crater he was in, let alone stand, but he managed it against all odds. Show me your resolve. Within the crimson gaze, his pupil morphed, and a black flame crackled into his palm. An intense hatred crossed his expression. Let's end this! Naruto, age 17. Again, cerulean eyes listlessly open and peering into the murky ceiling above. He rubbed his eyes and yawned as his legs rustled the thin sheet as he stretched his body. How many times had he had that same dream? Far too many to count. It was one of the many that repeated. He had so many dreams he relived. They felt so realistic. He could recall every detail, every feeling so vividly. It was a little unnerving. From the limited research available, people struggled to retain key points of their dreams, let alone what he could. It was almost as if he experienced these dreams in another life. Nah, can't be, Naruto mumbled, running his hand through his ragged locks before growling. He needed a shower, and not to be spied on as he slept. Hinata? Naruto scowled as his eyes shifted to a buxom, pale-skinned, owled fauness 12 years his senior. Her lavender eyes staring at him, standing there, motionlessly, menacingly. A hint of forbidden lust was hidden behind her professional demeanor, her gaze fixated on the pitched tent proudly pronounced between his legs. Can this wait? I'm not even dressed, Naruto growled, covering his dignity with a pillow. If she continued this, he would take it as consent and do things to that voluptuous body that no one else could. As much as I desire to allow you to rest, perhaps for more intimate affairs, I'm afraid I cannot, branch leader Uzumaki. Hinata sighed, her entire chest heaving. Naruto's attention was drawn to her jiggling bosom, much to his chagrin. She knew what she was doing. And why not? Naruto glared, overcoming his urges and stared into her lavender gaze. A difficult task when he was practically nude and a fine woman who knew what her body did to him invaded his privacy. Instead of using the technology they had at their disposal to call him. This was intentional. High Leader Sienna has called for your presence personally. She called for a meeting for all branch leads. Hinata exhaled, her lips quivering as she looked genuinely upset at first, desire in her gaze fading completely, and was replaced by her far more reserved demeanor. Naruto couldn't repress the urge to groan, palming his face. He never enjoyed spending any time with Sienna. He had disagreed with her approach. He had long since grown disenfranchised with their approach. Violence was their only answer. While Naruto did believe that force was sometimes a necessity, it should always be the last option. Unless it was against a particular faction that actively still sought to undermine Faunus' rights and brutalize their people. Naruto grimaced. For 2 years he had stalked them, figured out where their headquarters were located, who their leader was. But he would not use force, not just yet. They were inactive, not pressing the fight against them. He would lie and wait until they did, for his goal was still peace. He did not wish for any unnecessary fight if he could avoid it. His desire to bring a modicum of respect back to their organization his adoptive parents had crafted with well-intended hands, and to protect his dumb sister who had just joined this radicalized group. He knew she would. She was smitten with that blockhead of a bull. Oh, he would break his nose again if he hurt his sister. Fuck me, Naruto groaned, his blanket flicked off by his bushy tail before he hopped out of his bed, shivering. Sienna also made him comfortable every time they crossed paths. The way she suggestively spoke, The look in her eyes as she observed him, stalked him with her gaze. It was like she was hunting him with her gaze, preparing to pounce and have her way with him. She was the same age as his mom. It was weird. Oh, I'm flattered, but we don't have the time. You're not equipped. Hand placed on her hip as she flaunted her assets with a smirk, her gaze lingering on him before she swayed her hips and turned to make her leave. Please stop joking and prepare accordingly. We have a long and hard flight, and here shortly was plenty of turbulence. Naruto's gaze flickered red as his door closed. He gnashed his teeth and clenched his fist. His tail swayed ceaselessly behind him before he took a deep breath, and his eyes returned to their typical hue. Opening his closet, Naruto growled as he retrieved his black uniform, jacket, and pants, the hems of which were trimmed with orange. I'm going to give you a long and hard flight if you don't stop taunting me. Mistral was a gorgeous place, at the right time of the year in the right places. The swamps? Not so much. Then the local bandit and grim population didn't help matters either. So much beauty ruined. This place would have been so lovely if it weren't for those things holding it back. And why did they need to have a parade for this gathering? It wasn't all that special. This was a waste of resources in Leon. Naruto's mood lowered further upon seeing two people he did not want to see here behind the Veil Branch leader. The first was Adam Taurus. How he loathed him. His idealism was radical. He headed the most violent strikes against targets of interest to stir up controversy, bring the White Fang's actions into the media and the public's eye so their message could be heard. But was it necessary any longer? Yes, policies were slow to change, but there had been a growing sentiment for years now that faunus should have equal rights amongst the people in general. Of course, there was pockets of extremists on each side, but the number was pretty low. However, the attention garnered more support for the White Fang and attracted recruits, and as he had long since feared, Blake had joined the White Fang. She was standing right beside the bastard. Blake, Naruto muttered under his breath and winced. His sister's taste in people was horrendous. Why did she keep returning to Adam's side like a lost puppy? Did she honestly think she could fix him? Without hesitation, Naruto broke rank of the ceremony and strode directly towards Adam. He did not give a damn about what any of them thought about him. Naruto latched onto the bull's horns and dragged him down and onto his knees before him, before Adam or anyone else for that matter could stop him. Naruto, no! Blake tried to stop Naruto, but from a simple, heated glance with his dilated pupil, she recoiled and backed away. Let me be perfectly clear. Naruto knelt and stared eye to eye with Adam. If you hurt my sister in any way, I will break every bone in your body and leave you crippled for life. Understand? Yes! Adam hissed with a hint of fear in his lone eye. Good. Naruto tossed Adam to the ground assertively. Naruto, Blake whispered, shivering at the cold shoulder Naruto gave her. I do not want to talk to you at this moment. Naruto's nostrils flared and he threw her a nasty look her way. But internally, he winced at the sight of his sister flinching again. This wasn't how he wanted to see her. After making a decision he regretted making despite knowing he could change more from within than he could change from the outside. To see her make the same mistake broke his heart. Was that necessary? The Veil Branch leader hissed, disapproving of Naruto's actions. Yes, it was entirely needed. Naruto recognized the man as one of Siena's lackeys and scowled, turning his back on him and returning to the formation with one last statement lingering in the air. And let this be a warning to you. You do anything to put my sister in danger, and the horror I will leave upon the Veil Branch will be stained with such negative energy that not even the grin will be attracted to it. What was the point of this convergence? It literally accomplished nothing of value. Everything discussed could have been discussed through their communication stations. Naruto rolled the muscle of his temple with a gentle touch from 2 fingers. He felt a headache coming on. He wasted so much dust just flying here from Solitus. Why waste resources in such a meaningless manner? Hello there, handsome. Sienna's voice made Naruto's skin crawl, sensing her approach from behind and bumping her hip against his in a suggestive manner. Quite the specimen you have grown into, and are still becoming. Naruto held back the urge to grimace, seeing her lick her lips. She did want to eat him in a way that he had no desire to let happen. Maybe if Hinata did it, he might be more inclined. However, this woman was more than twice his age. Get to the point, Naruto snapped, wanting out of this situation, having long since become numb to her advances. Oh, you're no fun, Sienna languished at the lost opportunity to play before her expression darkened. It seems from the intel you have gathered, we're in a rough position. I never thought the Silver Bullet Brotherhood would have such connections. That the CEO of Starhead Industries would lead them. It poses a significant problem, but explains why they are always well equipped and seemingly well funded when we cross paths. Despite the training I put my unit through, we are still outgunned until I stepped onto the scene. Naruto exhaled, nodding at Sienna's assessment. And that is something we must address, Sienna scowled, a light hiss in her throat. We have to get a hold of better weapons and resources if we are to properly be prepared to defend ourselves. When they launch an attack. Help us if they launch an attack with our current defenses at any outpost or on Menagerie. Naruto gnashed his teeth. He knew she was manipulating him, that she was molding the situation to suit her desires. But the threat was real. He didn't believe Menagerie would be the target, but given how the Silver Bullets despise Faunus, hitting the home for all of Faunus' kind would be something they could feasibly do. What are you asking of me, Naruto hissed. An assignment. One I believe only you are capable of completing. Sienna gazed into Naruto's eyes, full of confidence. A transport just arrived in Mistral from Atlas from the SDC, heading towards Vale. I have reason to believe this shipment is more than just a dust. According to all reports, not is only Jughead Snee on the transport, but so is General James Ironwood, and Fort Lee. I highly suspect he wishes to oversee the purchase of a weapons deal. We need that kind of technology, and you are the only one I trust to get the job done. Wind brushed his skin, and Naruto's locks wildly flailed as he looked upon the tracks from above, perched on the precipice of the bullhead, gauging what options they had available. There was only one. This mission was suicide, and Naruto knew it the moment Sienna assigned it to him. No one could do this job. The might of the Atlas military was not to be underestimated. He had several scuffles with their elite operatives, and had come out on top every time. However, this was a direct assault against the same unit, with hefting Atlesian knights and soldiers backing them up, making this feel like an impossible task. And that wasn't mentioning some of the other robotic weaponry they were bound to find on this train. And that was if he had a large enough force backing him up, not a small cell of people chosen explicitly from those who were available at headquarters, which included only Hinata, Adam, and his sister, with a few units for supply pickup only. Oh, he was going to enjoy breaking the Vale branch leader piece by piece after they were done here. And Sienna for even coming up with this insanity. Blake, Naruto retreated from the open door of the bullhead to confirm his plans with his unit. Yes, Blake stiffened, nervously sitting straight as her brother's attention was solely focused on her. It was unnerving to see how serious he was. You are to flank the rear and watch our backs, allowing Adam, Hinata, and me to handle the majority of the combat, besides encounters with Atlesian knights. Understand? Naruto ordered. Let me help. I can do this, Blake's ears flattened as she protested. In all other circumstances, this would be a suicide mission. The only reason it isn't is because I was assigned to it, Naruto expressed the severity of the situation to his younger sister, causing her to recoil and shudder in her seat. Adam and Hinata warily glanced at one another before focusing their attention onto Naruto. The moment we touch down, we're going to be under fire, and not just from robots and soldiers. Atlas elite operatives are here, and they are not a joke. Oh, how Naruto hated being right. The moment the bullhead pulled close, they were under fire. It was almost as if they had information ahead of time that they were coming. This felt more like a trap than an assignment. They were locked down with heavy suppressing fire from the moment they jumped onto the ship and one of their many empty train tracks. Atlesian knights and soldiers alike flanked fortified walls, laying down fire to force them to retreat. They were prepared for their arrival. This was a trap, all right. Well, if there was one thing he wasn't going to do, and that was to give up. And show these assholes who was in charge. Adam? Naruto roared over the hail of gunfire that surrounded them. The two only needed to lock eyes with one another for just a moment. As much as they hated each other, they knew they worked well with one another. Naruto sprinted from behind cover in a flicker of golden light to the left while Adam went right, hands clutching the tsuba and scabbard of Wilton blush. Naruto leapt into the fray of soldiers, and Adam aimed for the knights. A fiery explosion ruptured a shockwave around Naruto, sending each of the soldiers flying off the train. In a trail of roses, followed by the burning sword through the air, decimated and turned the knights into metal chunks. And for the next group to be cut down by a black sword and gunfire, while the next batch of soldiers were knocked unconscious by precise finger tap shots that shut down their nervous system. Thought you said this was a suicide mission, Hinata taunted, swaying her hips casually as she strutted forward before groaning. Ah, great, you again. Come to have your ultimate defense broken by my precision strikes once more? Not really, the ace operative known as Tortuga sighed, blandly glaring at Hinata. Alright, fuck the plan, I guess, Naruto swore upon seeing the first of the ace operatives, before shifting his attention towards Blake. Just stay safe. Got it? This won't be easy. I will. Whoa! Blake smirked before she lost her balance, a rocket-powered hammer slamming down where she once was, through the mist of her shadow clone. Quick, aren't you? Hey! Elm cockily grinned at Blake, watching her settle down before she was forced to use her hammer to deflect a heated dust sword. Your fight is with me. Blake, support me from behind, Adam snarled towards Elm, giving orders to Blake. Roger, Blake nodded, Gamble shroud switching to its Kasurigama form. Naruto couldn't repress his frown at seeing the two work in sync, and while it annoyed him at this moment, he was thankful for it. Before he flinched his head to the side, avoiding a wire that whisked past his head. The man sighed as Naruto clutched the wire with his claws, burning with intense aura, melting the wire of the weapon. I really wish it wasn't you. Same, Naruto chirped, smirking in Clover's direction. So why don't you just let me take a few of these crates of dust and weapons, and I'll be out of your hair? You know I can't, Clover deadpanned before glowering. I'm bringing you in this time. Good luck with that. You're gonna need it, Naruto grinned, knowing precisely what Clover's semblance was after several clashes. Clover's luck always seemed to fail against Naruto, and he couldn't help but taunt him about it. Why are you fraternizing with the enemy? A new voice caught Naruto off guard, for it came from directly behind him as a blow struck his head. Son of a! Naruto gritted his teeth, noticing a trickle of electricity hanging in the air for a brief moment. He glowered. The ace operatives had a new member, a speedster. Harriet, leave it to me! Clover ordered, his eyes wide as he rushed in with his damaged weapon. I've got this! Harriet flickered into sight on Naruto's right, twisting her hips and throwing an aerial roundhouse. Not gonna work twice. Naruto used a single forearm to block the roundhouse, staring directly into Harriet's gaze, catching Clover's fishing rod with his other hand without even looking. You probably should listen to your leader. I tend to make the impossible possible. Naruto grinned as Clover's weapon melted to a pile of metallic sludge in his grasp. Is that so? Then try this on for size. Harriet's aura sparked, and she disappeared, before she tripped and bounced against the metal trailer. Ah! How did he? Harriet mothered before she groaned, feeling a heavy weight fall onto and roll over her. It was an unconscious Clover. What? Harriet shivered and turned her attention to Naruto, casually strolling towards her. Just who are you? Name's Uzumaki Naruto. But you probably know me better by my code name, Hell Fox. Naruto's grin unnaturally widened before chuckling. Or if you were like everyone else, I'm just the asshole with a motor mouth. Harriet froze. She knew that name, the name of a White Branch Fang leader in Solitus. Her aura sparked and she ran while her mind raced. This was the only person whom General Ironwood personally placed on a flee-on-sight order, with the exception of the ace operatives or himself. Someone so notorious for stumping the Atlas military at every turn. Why was he here? Wasn't he supposed to be back home? How you doing? Naruto asked, racing side by side next to Harriet, as she was pushing her speed to the limit. That isn't possible! Harriet's eyes flickered and bugged out. Now you're getting it! Naruto grasped her wrist and grinned. Welcome to the Ace Operatives. Hope you have a nice flight. She had never before felt this on edge. With all her years of training, honing her skills and learning how to wield the arts of her grandfather, Winter felt inadequate. She had just joined the Atlas military. She had been assigned this mission by General Ironwood himself, showing an incredible amount of trust in a new recruit. Or at least she hoped that was the reason. Unfortunately, it was more likely since her father was involved, along with many other essential business brokers and officials from the Atlas military. They were going to unveil and test a new weapon before the rest of the generals of the Four Kingdoms. More like a school teacher in this day and age. Atlas was the only kingdom to keep a vigilant military active to protect its people. The rest used huntsmen and huntresses, which were more effective against Grimm. But when it came to the fallacy of man and faunus, they were out of their depth. And now that they had to show for it, being attacked head-on by the White Fang operatives. These extremists, what did they want? Why were they here? Winter wanted nothing more than to join the battle and bring them to justice. However, she needed to stay behind, be the rear guard who protected the civilians. Why were there civilians even on this transport? Why was her father here along someone like Fort Lee? Was this supposed to be some sort of investment scenario to ensure their lien was well spent? All of these thoughts raged inside her mind, but she was calm, composed, stoic, and distant. Not a single emotion showed what lay within. She was cold as ice itself. The demeanor shattered as a hole was punctured through the wall and Harriet skidded through. Winter immediately rushed to her fellow compatriot's aid, fearing the worst, but relief filled her as she was only unconscious. Sorry, my bad. That was an accident. A blonde fox faunus stepped through the hole left in his wake, waving at everyone despite the number of guns aimed towards him. Ooh, everyone is armed. Nice. Winter sneered, standing before all of her officers and their associates, her father. She could not let harm come to any of them. Not here for any of, Naruto chuckled, his demeanor jovial, before his gaze turned to daggers towards Fort Lee. Well, I'm not here for most of you. Give me a reason and that might change. Hello. Winter snarled. He was quick. She couldn't touch him. Despite that, this felt almost like a dance. He seemed amused as he evaded her strikes, stopping to admire her every time. Ooh, Schnee Girl knows her stuff, Naruto quipped, laughing as he leapt over a slice. Winter growled. Was this Faunus playing with her? Just who did he think he was? And he wasn't wearing a mask like any of the others. Did he not fear repercussions? Calming her breath, Winter focused. If she wasn't fast enough to hit him currently, she could change that. The elements clearly didn't work. Ice couldn't catch him. Ooh, cold. Fire exploded too slowly to hit him. Burning like the sun! He wasn't affected by gravity or wind at all. He simply passed through them like they weren't even there. Is that it? Winter clenched her fist, glaring at an amused Naruto. It was clear she would have to take a different approach. There were sigils that reduced drag, not enough. That's neat. To enhance her reflexes. Still couldn't hit him, too quick. Getting closer! Even creating platforms to change the angle of attack didn't change. He was able to avoid her. Oh, this is like one of those hard platform games. Oh, what was that called? Winter grimaced, shifting to a dust time she didn't like using. Temporal dust. It granted her an extreme boost in her reflexes and speed, but at a cost. She wasn't going to feel very good for the rest of the day. But to her horror, he simply caught her saber and smiled at her. You're pretty good. Keep improving and you might make me sweat one day. Stop talking to me like a kid. You're younger than I am, Winter snapped, his teasing finally breaking through her icy demeanor. Sorry about that. Told you, I am known as an asshole. I don't really have a filter when I fight. Especially against cute girls, Naruto apologized before winking. What? Winter flushed. Did this Faunus call her cute while in the middle of fighting her? What is your problem? Winter pulled her sword free and failed to connect again. What followed was an intense pain she had never known before, radiating throughout her chest, the center of her chest. The wind rushed from her lungs. Winter fell to her knees. Her stomach twisted in knots before she spat up saliva and vomited the lunch she had earlier. Ah! I didn't mean to hit you that hard, Naruto winced, standing before Winter. Despite barely being able to catch her breath, Winter stared up towards Naruto, baffled. Why was he treating her in this manner? Were they not enemies? Why are you doing this? Winter gasped, frigidly glaring at Naruto, before it shifted directly in front of her as he plopped down. That is a great question. I don't know anymore. Naruto exhaled, looking annoyed and flustered. Winter staggered. Looking at Naruto was her jaw agape. Had she just gotten him to reconsider why he was fighting? By simply asking? No, it had to be more complex than that. Huh? Hinata! Naruto broke Winter's line of thought, jumping to his feet as one of his comrades rushed past him, catching her coat, which she pulled off in the process. What are you doing? Our job is to... Wait, no! Winter's eyes wavered. A sense of dread consumed her as the owl Faunus ran past. Somehow she was able to stand and push past her limits. She sprinted, pushing every fiber in her body to go faster. She needed to stop this Faunus. Why did she have bombs strapped to her chest? What was she thinking? That would... Fire erupted, consuming everything around her. Consuming her aura. But then a golden light flickered, followed by such extreme heat. She could not retain consciousness. And that was the first part of Frost and Flames. What if? I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, as I mentioned earlier, leaving a like and comment could help push this story's development ahead of schedule. The more feedback I get, the higher those odds rise. I will say fanfiction.net and Archive of Our Own have been doing their part, so now it's your turn, YouTube. Until next time, my friends, peace.